Hello, my friends. It is so good to share this time with you again and have our conversations on women's sexuality, all of the things that you're wondering. I am so appreciative of you sending questions, taking the time to send me the questions to create this content. Today, we're going to talk about women's sexual needs. And I know that by now, if you've been following for a little while, you're convinced that we are sexual beings and you're embracing that and you're trying to grow into understanding what makes up your sexuality, how to maximize it, how to use it, how to protect it. And I want to talk about, especially because the amount of inquiries that we get on how confused it is that sometimes you think you have a sexual need, but it's something deeper and something that goes beyond the physical. And I want to establish a little bit of how women function, how our body responds, and how we get connected to sexuality in more intense and tangible ways so that you can be productive. And it doesn't matter if you're single or if you're married. There are sexual needs that we all have. And there are some needs that feed into the sexual that is very appropriate and that is perfect for you to nurture regardless of your marital status. So let's just establish that singles are as sexual as married women. That doesn't mean that they're actively engaging in sexual intercourse, but that does mean that they are actively aware of what their body is telling them and how they want to manage and respond to those signals, to that conversation that is ongoing between their bodies and their minds. So I am glad that both groups of women join us for this conversation and that those that are single and in the waiting are just getting ready and preparing way better than some of us did ahead of the game. So that when you get to that moment of fully 100% being free to enjoy every aspect of sexuality, that you have at least a better knowledge, a better foundation, and a more realistic outlook on the expectations and how those are met. So let's talk about sexuality is something that we typically view from the physical standpoint. We look at organs, we look at responses, we think of orgasms or climaxing, and typically that is where our attention is centered. And you will find that sometimes your activity, your level of physical activity that is sexual, that is related to sexuality, increases. But the level of satisfaction doesn't necessarily increase with that. Why is that? Well, sometimes it is because the need is deeper than what the body is expressing or what the body is receiving. You're just thinking that that is the way to go about it. An example of that, when you want true connection with your spouse, for those that are married, and you're not getting that time, you're not getting that looking eye to eye, connecting heart to heart, the issues that you're facing together, the challenges, you don't get to open up your heart and he's not opening his. You feel that a sexual encounter is going to bring that closeness. Well, it brings a level of closeness, but it doesn't solve that other need that you have for communicating, expressing, and being seen, being heard. So sometimes we need to make adjustments of assessing what is the deeper need. So yes, women have sexual needs that are connected to her emotionality and to her spirituality. So how does a single woman resolve that problem? How does she deal with that? And one of the ways that we try to help and cater to single women is that, number one, acknowledging that you have a legitimate need. Acknowledge the fact that your body is not lying to you. What it's asking for and what it's telling you is alive and well within you, and you're experiencing it. Because sometimes people want to silence your body. They want to tell you, oh no, that's not, you're creating that. The devil is bringing those ideas. You're reading something that you shouldn't be. You're watching something that shouldn't. And sometimes it's none of that. It's your body legitimately tickling and wanting to be aroused, wanting to be physically entertained. But one of the things that we find is that there is a solitude, a loneliness that single women have not resolved. And sometimes they're dating and they're getting these urges, or they're engaging in sexual activity even though they don't want to, because the loneliness issue is not being addressed, because their partner is not taking the time to getting to know them emotionally and play those intricate dynamics of building a relationship. You know, talking about the difficult things, the challenging things that, from the families we come from the environments that we live, spiritually, the things that I believe, how my faith functions, how my faith moves. Those things sometimes are overlooked during a season of dating or trying to get to know someone, and you skip all of that and jump into sexual activity because you feel that the sexual activity is going to give you that sense, that feeling of connectivity. And that is completely off. Nothing could be further from the truth. You end up feeling still empty, and like what you're doing or compromising is not giving you the results that you are expecting. But what about if I am single and I am not in a relationship? It is important that we live in community. We were created to live in community. We long to be seen, to be heard, and to be treasured by someone. And we need to live in those friendships and in those relationships that nurture that aspect of our lives. When that is not part of what you do, when you don't have a motivation to enjoy life, to have fun, to discover the world, because you don't have someone in your life, you are not allowing deep areas of your life to be nurtured, to be nourished, to be fed. And therefore, you are going to think that the missing piece is sexuality, sex. And a portion of it can be true, but it's never strong enough. It should never be strong enough, or the biggest piece that moves you to being intimate physically with someone when you have decided that you want to do it in a specific time, in a specific flow, it looking in a particular way. So let's not confuse what our need for connection, what our need for companionship, what our need for fun, for being seen, heard, understood is, with what sexually we get from a relationship. They're two very separate things. And I am sure that we will continue talking about this topic in other episodes, getting deeper into some of these aspects of your sexuality. I am glad that you spent this time with me, but if you still have questions, there are plenty of resources on our website created with you in mind. Make the most of all of them at your disposal. Just go to ccicounseling.com. ccicounseling.com. We have the e-course on comprehensive sexuality that will help you define what are those big areas of your life that need to be nourished and worked on so you can experience the best sexuality ever. I will see you on the next episode.